I know. This month flew by so freaking fast, and I promised I was gonna make something delicious for you guys. And here we are today. The baby's upstairs sleeping. I think she's sleeping really good right now. So we have time. We have time today, okay? So forgive me and love me, all right? So we're gonna make the perfect, and I mean the perfect, moist
Okay.
butter pecan pound cake. We're using sour cream to really get that nice moist crumb that lasts for a few days on the counter, okay? I promise you don't have to refrigerate this one. Perfect ratio of butter, sugar, cinnamon, pecan, vanilla. I mean, it's gonna be the best thing you're gonna bring to your next holiday cookout. So stay with me and enjoy. All right, let's get to it, y'all. So the first step here is to get 3 cups of flour. Now, I don't know about you, but I can be a little bit heavy-handed when it comes to flour. So I've lately been using grams to make sure that I'm hitting the mark every single time. Usually a cup of flour is 120 to 125 grams, but you know, I'm kind of weird, so I just went ahead and rounded it up to 380 grams for the flour. And you can see my OCD is kicking in right about here. Anyways, after that, I added in 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a half teaspoon of baking soda, and because I use unsalted butter, I'm adding some salt into the batter, just 1/2 teaspoon. But if you use buttered salt, you don't have to do that. I do recommend pouring all of your ingredients into a sifter. The sifter really helps to, kind of break down any clumps and also helps to make the batter more airy and softer in the crumb. I'm choosing to sift twice because if you guys notice my sifter, it's pretty coarse, so a lot of bigger pieces can get through. So I'm just sifting it twice just to make sure that I get everything separated and fluffy. All right, now we're going to start with our wet ingredients. And yes, sugar is considered a wet ingredient. We're going to add 2 cups of sugar, which is 200 grams, and 2 sticks of room temperature butter. Again, I use the unsalted kind, and I'm going to use my hand mixer to start creaming my butter. Now, you can use a stand mixer if you have it, but you really don't have to. I personally love using a hand mixer because it gives me more control of my creaming method. I can see what's going on a little bit closer and pay close attention. You know, you don't want to over cream your butter and sugar mixture because it can make it fall flat after a while when you bake your cake. So after about 2 to 3 minutes, you can see the consistency is starting to come together really nicely. And once that's all done, we're going to add in the eggs. Now, listen guys, I've been cooking my whole life, and today was the day that I cracked an egg terribly into my batter. And I thought I fished everything out, but y'all, when I tasted my cake the next day, my slice had a little piece of eggshell that I was looking for. So don't be like me. Mix it until fluffy and creamy, just like that. Now we're going to add in the rest of our wet ingredients. We're going to add in 1 tablespoon of vanilla and whip that in really good. And I like to blend that in before I put anything else into the batter. Next, we're going to add in 1 cup of sour cream, and try to take your sour cream out when you're prepping everything. Even 30 minutes is perfect. You just don't want it to be too cold, and you don't want it to cool that butter that's in that batter because it starts to separate if you do that. So room temperature better, but just as long as it's not too cold, you'll be okay. And then finally, I'm going to use a molasses in my batter instead of using brown sugar. And I wanted to remind you guys, you can use brown butter for the recipe, or you can use white sugar, whatever your preference is. I choose to use molasses because it gives me more control of how dark or how light my brown sugar taste will come out. So do your thing. Okay, mix it all together for maybe about a minute or so, just to make sure everything's incorporated very well. And again, we don't want to over mix this. We just want to make sure that everything is incorporated. So get your spatula and get all that good stuff off the sides and off the bottom of that bowl, just to make sure that everything gets evenly mixed in with this batter. Next, get your wet ingredients and dump that right into your dry ingredients, okay? Now this part, I know it's tempting to use that hand mixer, but don't use the hand mixer because you know when you mix those wet ingredients in with the flour, it activates gluten, and we know we like gluten when we have bread and pizza crust, but we're not making pizza crust. We're not making bread. We're making a nice fluffy moist cake. So use your elbow grease, okay, and mix that up until you don't see any more pockets of flour. So it could take you maybe about a minute or two to do that. After it's all perfect, okay. Oh, you know what I forgot to tell you guys? Darn, the pecan mixture. Okay, but anyways, now if you want to use the hand mixer, I prefer using it at the very end for like 5 seconds just to make sure it's all even. And last but not least, we have the pecan mixture. It's 1.5 cups of pecans, a half cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of butter, and a tablespoon of cinnamon. And you put that into your food processor and you pulse it until you get a nice medium fine coarse texture of the pecans. And then finally here, we're going to use about 80% of this mix and save about 20% of it for the top of the cake later. So we're going to just save that and put that to the side for now, and then put some more elbow grease into mixing this all together. Now you don't want to use your blender because we don't want to overmix the batter, but we also don't want the pecan mixture to become too homogeneous. So we're going to just mix it and swirl it just like so until you don't see any more dry like pockets of pecan mixture. So right about here, you can see everything is kind of sticking to some type of batter, and that's all you need. Just like that. And finally, guys, the cake release. Use the cake release. It's so easy. It's equal parts of shortening, oil, and flour, or if you prefer, butter, oil, and flour. Just equal parts. So 2 tablespoons of each is what I use. And you want to coat your pan really nicely. Make sure that you don't leave any blank spots because this cake definitely can stick to your bundt pan, okay, guys? And it does take a little bit of elbow grease and a little bit of time, but trust me, guys, it's so worth it when that cake comes out like butter, okay? And finally, just dump that thing up in there, okay? Just put all that batter in there, smooth it out. If you see any big air bubbles, go ahead and tap it a few times to release those bubbles. It's all mixed in, looking really good. Go ahead and put this thing in the oven for about 1 hour and bake it at 325. You know it's ready when it starts to rise very fully. It has a nice brown color to it, and you start seeing some crack in it, but always use a toothpick or a skewer to double check. And as you can see, guys, voila, within 1 hour, look at this beautiful cake, guys. Oh my God, let me tell you something. I was nervous because my oven, it's been acting kind of wonky lately, and I'm just like, guys, I did not film this whole video for it to look ugly, but look at this cake. Look at it, guys. It's so pretty. All right. Now, this is the moment of truth because I told you about that cake release, right? When I tell you it has given me no problems, when I tell you it works like a charm, no matter the cake, no matter the intricacies of the design of the bundt cake, it works. So let's see what happens. Let's see. Look, guys, I didn't even tap it. I didn't even tap the thing, and it just fell out, guys. And you want to wait at least 10 or 15 minutes, maybe even 10 or 15 minutes is perfect. Wait a little bit before you do it. You don't want to dump it right when you take it out of the oven because the bonding of the cake is not finished yet. So let it cool down for a little bit before you do that. And so I'm just going to flip it again because I don't know about you, I love the way the top of the cake looks. So I want that part to be the top of my cake. So I just reverse flipped it again, and then we'll go ahead and get ready to put that delicious glaze on it. Oh my God, it's so good. Now the perfect glaze for me is 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, 2 tablespoons of milk or heavy whipping cream, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and 2 tablespoons of melted butter. And just whip it together until it's nice and fine. And I add mine in little increments just to make sure that I don't go over or under. So this is the finished product, guys. And you do want to put it on the cake while it's still warm. If you wait till it cools down, it's going to be a nice stiff situation, and you don't want that. So as you can see, the warm cake helps that glaze to just melt over it so perfectly. And I kind of did make a mess. And this cake is for my family, but I'm kind of like OCD, right? So I did clean it up a little bit, and as you can see towards the end of the video, I add the pecans on top of it. Yummy, yummy. That's that nice pecan sugar mixture we made earlier. And then I'm going to transfer this onto a plate, clean off the red plate, and then put it back on. All right, so as you can see, this cake is completely done. It's cooled off just enough so I can slice into it without any issues. So I want you to see what it looks like on the inside. I'm gonna cut it with you watching, okay? Let's see. Oh my goodness gracious. Let's see what it looks like. Oh my God, guys, look at this. Look at that. And when I say the texture, the crumb, it is so good. You can see those pretty little swirls from the way we mixed in the pecan mix. Just beautiful, okay? I'm actually gonna eat some. All right, so I'm back for a taste test. Let's see how this comes out.